It's initiated a probe into the complaints of passengers over flight delays and cancellations at the NAIA. Several airlines have apologized for these incidents, which have inconvenienced passengers. Aside from airlines, senators also want the Civil Aeronautics Board held accountable for the flight woes. Good evening, I'm Ruth Cabal, sitting in for Pia Ontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. Budget airline Cebu Pacific is blaming the global crisis in the supply of engine parts, not overbooking, for the recent flight disruptions. Flight carrier Philippine Airlines and AirAsia also assert they prioritize passenger safety at all times. Our guests for tonight, the convener of the Passenger Forum, a transport advocacy network of Filipino public commuters, Primo Morillo. And later in the show, we'll have Civil Aeronautics Board Deputy Executive Director Maria Elben Moro and Manila International Airport Authority Officer in Charge, Brian Co. First, let's hear from the side of the passengers. Good evening to you, Primo.
Good evening, Ruth. Good evening to all the viewers.
We heard in the Senate hearing today what you may call horror stories of passengers because of the delayed flights or even the cancellations on the part of your group. What is your biggest concern?
Our biggest concern is that it seems that airlines do not take the issues of passengers seriously. We think that the Congress and the Senate should legislate and enact a law, and we hope the President will sign it, that will provide penalties for airlines that continuously deny and ignore the rights of passengers.
Kasi, Primo, some of the government agencies, for example, the CAB would always refer to yung meron silang parang AO, administrative order with a bill of rights, no? Pero it's not yet a law.
Opo, nanatiling administrative order yan, ano? Joint administrative order yan ng dating DOTC o DOTR ngayon and ng DTI, and we think na malaki yung naging tulong nito. No? Hindi lang para dun sa pagkiklaim ng rights, kundi pagiging conscious and assertive ng ating mga pasahero na meron silang mga karapatan.
Pero sa tingin nyo, yeah, go ahead.
Opo. Pero given yung mga nakaraan, itong mga nakaraan, napansin namin, lalo na pag itong mid-May hanggang ngayon, sunod-sunod po talaga yung issues, lalo na sa Cebu Pacific. O
kasi nakikita rin natin yan talaga sa mga airports. So sa tingin nyo, kailangan magkaroon ng batas, pero sa ngayon ba, ano kaya yung remedyo na gusto nyong isulong? Kasi talagang marami nang naaberya, hindi lang yung stress, hindi lang yung dagdag gastos eh.
Opo, ang solusyon na nakikita namin ay dapat maging proactive itong mga airlines. Ano? Hindi dapat na parang kailangan maging assertive pa ng gusto yung ating mga pasahero para makuha nila yung kanilang compensation o amenities. Nakalagay din naman mismo doon sa JAO number 1 noong 2012 na dapat readily available po yung mga amenities and compensation. Pero nakita naman natin sa mga story kanina, sa mga karanasan ng mga pasahero, hindi po yun ang nangyayari. Naguhulaan kung mayroon bang makukuha, nagtatanong, hindi sigurado yung frontline na empleyado, kawawa minsan mismo yung empleyado ng mga airlines, no? Kasi yun yung naiipit. Pero wala silang orientation para ito handle.
Formally ba yung grupo nyo or have you supported yung mga bills na magkaroon nga ng Air Passenger Bill of Rights na gawin na yung isang batas to legislate it and also even siguro dagdagan ng, yung sinabi nyo na rin dito no? Yung stiffer or mas malaking mga penalties?
Opo. Yun po ang talagang ginagawa namin and ang plano namin ay makipag-coordinate doon sa mga iba pang mga legislators na nagsalita ngayon para magkaroon ng ganitong batas.
Pero yung gumagana ngayon, halimbawa, pwedeng i-penalize yung mga airlines. But what do you think of that? Ang sinasabi parang 5,000 per passenger. Is it about time na taasan yan? And then if you penalize them, it doesn't go naman to the passengers. Dumidirekta yan sa gobyerno eh.
Opo, pero ibig sabihin cost yan sa mga airlines. Ano?
Yes, oo.
Ang dahilan kaya pwedeng hindi nila inaasikaso agad kasi cost sa kanila. Pero mas pangit na mapipinalize sila, magbabayad sila sa gobyerno, hindi pa masaya yung kanilang mga customer, hindi pa masaya yung mga pasahero. 5,000 lang po talaga yung nakasaad kasi ang penalties po doon sa JAW ay nakabase lang sa Civil Aeronautics Act saka sa Consumer Act.
Kaya yun nga yung sinasabi nyo na magkaroon ng batas. Pero sa ngayon yung mga pasahero na parang wala na silang ibang magawa tungkol dito, ano ang maipapayo nyo sa kanila? Isulong pa rin, talaga mag-file pa rin sila ng mga complaints kasi minsan yung iba syempre parang ang hassle na to file the complaints.
Opo, ang suggestion namin sa mga pasahero, maging assertive, no? Kaya kasi ang pagkakaiba po minsan yung nung mga na-aasikaso at hindi ay yung nag-a-assert at yung hindi nag-a-assert. Mas maganda, mas maraming mga pasahero yung makaalam ano yung kanilang karapatan. Pero kahit na ganito yung ating panawagan sa mga pasahero, mas malaki pa rin po yung responsibilidad doon sa mga service providers o sa mga airlines.
In the hearing today, lumabas din yung problema, even yung sa mga websites or even yung mga pagsagot ng tawag, monitor nyo ba rin na ganyan din yung experience ng mga ibang pasahero?
Actually, isa po sa mga di-discourage na mag-assert yung mga pasahero ay dahil hindi madali na magreklamo, yung call center nila hindi kaagad makakausap ng tao. Kapag nag-email ka, matagal bago makasagot. At even yung kaharap mong tao, hindi alam ang isasagot sa'yo.
For other passengers siguro na who wants to take a more active role and be part of your group, anong mensahe niyo sa kanila?
Mag-mensahe lang po tayo sa aming Facebook page, The Passenger Forum. Marami po mga pasahero ang nagsisend sa amin ng mga reklamo. At itong dahilan kung bakit mula nung mid-May ay talagang monitor na po kami ano nangyayari sa ating mga airports.
But for you, who should be the most accountable, aside from the airlines, in terms of yung management rin ng government?
Of course, kung meron pong mga ahensya ng gobyerno na nagkulang, dapat meron po din po silang accountability dito sa mga nangyayari ngayon.
Can you name the government agencies that should work harder in making these?
Opo. Pwede pong CAB, pwedeng CAAP, and even DOTR.
Okay. Thank you very much to Primo Morillo, and we'll be back after a quick break. Stay tuned.
We are going to be reducing the number of flights para magbagay po yung number of aircraft to the number of passengers. We will also lease additional aircraft.
Welcome back. This is Politics as Usual. Our next guest for tonight is Civil Aeronautics Board Deputy Executive Director Maria Elben Moro. Good evening to you, Attorney Moro. Attorney, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Good evening, Ruth, and good evening to all your viewers.
Attorney, that was a statement we heard from the Senate hearing today, and a few of the senators say government agencies should be held accountable, including CAB. Can you give us your reaction to this and explain to us what is the mandate of CAB in terms of dealing with these issues?
The Civil Aeronautics Board is the economic regulator, and part of our mandate is to implement also the Air Passenger Bill of Rights, which is a joint administrative order between the DOTC then, the DOTR now, and the Department of Trade and Industry. And apart from that, the CAB also is mandated to issue permits for both foreign and domestic carriers to operate in the Philippines, within the Philippines and to the Philippines, and also for negotiating air traffic rights with other countries and their other bilateral partners.
And also, so part of your mandate is also in the past, you have also imposed penalties on airlines for different violations. So far po ba, can you remember if kailan yung pinakahuling penalty na na-impose nyo? And then what are your plans for the recent cancellations and delays again?
Actually, Ruth, yung penalties natin with the resolutions that we do for the passenger complaints that we receive, merong mga penalties that are imposed against airlines for these violations. For example, like if the airline is not able to respond within the specific period, of time or provide the necessary reimbursement to the passengers within a specific periods, merong mga penalties talaga yan. They're not really publicized, but halos lahat every day we issue resolutions addressing these passenger complaints, and together with that resolution are penalties imposed against carriers if they are found liable or in violation of the APPR.
Pero kasi yung halimbawa, we were talking earlier to a transport group, passengers group, and he was saying na, si Primo Murillo was saying na kailangan kasi parang maging assertive pa yung mga passengers to get compensation or refund. Pero dapat mandated yun. Binanggit nyo na rin, meron na rin Air Passenger Bill of Rights, di ba po?
Right. Dapat ito talaga binibigay ng airline, no, na kasi we have already under the Air Passenger Bill of Rights may mga circumstances na dyan when the passengers are entitled to certain amenities. Like for example, there is delay of 2 hours in the airport and they're already at the airport. There should be provisions of food, mga ganyan, or kung na-extend pa yung mga delay, passengers are already given right to rebook, to refund, or to be reimbursed. Nakapaloob na ito lahat sa Air Passenger Bill of Rights. And they should be given to the passengers when the circumstances are attendant na. Ibig sabihin, pagka nangyari itong mga circumstances na to, which are mentioned under the APPR, dapat ibigay na ito ng pusa din ng mga airlines.
And in the hearing also today, Attorney, the airlines mentioned na nagbaba na nga rin sila or nagbawas na rin sila na flights para maiwasan pa yung further delays or cancellations. But is there a way to monitor kung nabawasan na nga yan? And also, lumabas din sa hearing kasi na parang wala nang limit doon sa overbooking eh.
Siguro first, Ruth, no, to explain yung sa reduction ng flight ng airlines, yes, that is true. Kasi it's a global problem actually yung sa supply chain na yan, and then yung sa supply ng parts and all that additional aircraft and servicing of aircraft. Hindi lang dito sa Pilipinas nangyayari yan. Actually, it's a problem experienced regionally and globally among the airlines after the pandemic, no? So, nag-reduce yung mga airlines para lang mabawasan yung cancellation. I'm not sure if you're familiar na during yung peak season talaga, yung mga long holidays natin when we had Holy Week, maayos yung on-time performance ng mga airlines eh. But come late April or etong towards May and June yan, medyo bumagsak yung on-time performance ng ating mga airlines, tumaas yung cancellation rate. This is because also of the global supply chain issues, in addition to other issues like yung mga lightning alerts kasi nagtag-ulan. So I'm not sure. I'm sure NAIA will be more familiar with the number of lightning alert, red alerts that we had over the past months. No, so ito contributory ito lahat doon sa pagka-cancel ng flights. And then second, yung dun sa overbooking. Nung ginagawa or dinadraft yung APBR kasi, globally, ang accepted threshold for overbooking is 10%. But when we were drafting APBR, tinanggal natin ito kasi para sinasabi natin, okay, sige, nandyan yung 10% na threshold. So para sinasabi natin na pag nag-overbook si airline ng 10%, justified siya for overbooking. Diba? So tinanggal natin yung threshold ng overbooking at parang it's a self-limiting in the sense na kapag nag-overbook si airline, required siya to increase amenities to be offered doon sa mga pasahero para may mag-volunteer. So ibig sabihin, kung ako si airline at marami akong in-overbook, mas marami akong magiging gastos kasi kailangan ko ng mas maraming mag-volunteer para ma-free up yung seats, no? And based on our records, parang mga nasa 2 to a high of 5% lang ang na-overbook. But basically, mga 2% lang ang, on the average, 2 to 5% ang in-overbook ng airlines.
So, pwede nyo bang sabihin, attorney, that means it's not really parang intentional on the part of the airlines. Talagang yung mga rason na binigay nila kanina sa hearing, yun talaga yung, it's not like sobrang dami nung ino-offer nila because they have like yung mga promo fares, yung mga ganyan. So, based on your monitoring, like what you said, hindi naman sila masyadong nag-overbook.
That's correct. Siguro, Ruth, no, if I may just shed yung konting light on that. Kasi dahil nga sa issue on the aircraft, no, or yung mga equipment nila, maaari kasi nagkakaroon ng downgrade. Say for example, ang aircraft na ginamit nung for that particular flight is an A330 aircraft. O ilang seater yan. Tapos ida-downgrade mo to say for example a smaller aircraft na A320, which is what, 180 passengers. So ilang pasahero doon. So technically, yung nabawas mo doon from your downgrade from an A330 aircraft to an A320, ilang pasahero yon. So actually, they are not overbooked passengers, but because of the downgrading of the aircraft, that kinailangang magpalit ng aircraft for safety reasons, maraming pasahero talaga yung na hindi maisasakay.
Huli na lang, attorney, moving forward, what can CAB do right now to improve the plight of the passengers who are affected by these flight delays and cancellations?
Right. Siguro, yan, no, isa yan sa ng CAB to be really proactive in crafting regulations din and for strictly monitoring. Siguro, we have to be more more proactive, no, sa pagdinig ng mga pangangailangan din ng ating mga pasahero. At the same time, balance the interest between the public or the passengers and that of the airlines interest and the industry as a whole.
Okay, we have one more guest. When we return, just keep it here. This is Politics as Usual. You're still with Politics as Usual. We're still discussing flight delays and cancellations at NAIA. Our third guest tonight is Manila International Airport Authority Officer in Charge, Brian Cole. Good evening, Brian.
Hi, Ruth, and good evening, and thanks again for inviting us in your program.
We've been hearing different reasons from the airlines, from CAB and other government agencies about yung reasons for the delays and the cancellations. You have engine and supply chain issues. Nandiyan na rin yung congestion and all the other yung maintenance issues na nangyari din. Overall, how can MIA improve yung airport operations?
Yes, as we've mentioned, the air industry is actually based on, the success is based on a collaborative approach on how we can resolve all of these problems, because it's all a shared responsibility. Their passengers are our passengers as well. So it's in the interest of the airport operator like NAIA, who operates the 4 terminals here in Manila, to make sure that the flights that are being mounted by the carriers, not just the local carriers, but all the carriers operating in NAIA, are on time, and there are, of course, not much cancellations or within the tolerable limits in terms of delays or cancellations. So that's very important, especially for Manila. Like as you mentioned, we are a congested airport. It means that we are actually operating above our rated capacity already. This year, we're projecting to process around 43 million passengers, whereas the rated capacity of NAIA is just at 32 million passengers. That gives more importance in terms of having the flights to be dispatched or to be departing and arriving on schedule, so that passengers will not congest the airports, because they have to come in and come out according to the scheduled times. So in terms of collaboration with the airlines, we've been working with them already on how they can improve their schedules in terms of the on-time performance. As you've mentioned, they already told us that they've been having some problems on the supply chain. But what's important for us, of course, is how they handle the passengers. Because it would not be nice for the passengers to go to the airports and not know that their times have been retimed, or their flights have been retimed, or their flights have been canceled. So we are working on them on how they can better improve the customer experience, so that instead of handling all of the disrupted customers in the airports, most of them should be handled ahead of time, because passengers actually just need the right information at the right time, so that they won't have a very stressful travel when they know all of the disruptions happening at the airport.
I just heard you say so it won't be stressful kasi there was also a survey recently na parang it's one of the most stressful airports. NAIA is one of the most stressful airports in the world, and also they're saying it's worst for business travelers according to some surveys. Pero how do you address those?
Well, as I mentioned, we are capable of processing flights in a timely manner. I think it was mentioned earlier that during the Holy Week and up until March, of course, March 2023 in April, while we were processing a record number of flights, because we actually processed around 23,400 flights in May 2023. That's our highest number of flights after COVID-19. Previous to that, in 2019, we were at 22,600 flights. So not too far from where we were pre-COVID. But at that month, we actually had 80% on-time flights. So it means it depends on the readiness of the different airport stakeholders to be able to process these passengers in the flights like clockwork. So of course, the airlines, as I mentioned, have to have their resources in place. These include not just people, not just check-in agents, not just ground agents, but also the aircraft should be available. So during that time, from January until around March and April, all of the aircraft, I guess, were working well. But what we seen in terms of the trend was after April, there was a big drop in terms of the performance of at least these two airlines that were invited to the Senate earlier this day, Philippine Airlines and Cebu Pacific. There was actually a big contribution of these airlines in terms of the dropping of the on-time performance of NAIA. So from we were at 75% on-time performance in April, that dropped to 67% in May, and we are at 57% right now in June. But what we can report is that because of the proactive efforts of NAIA, the DOTR, CAB, CAEP, and of course the airlines, we have been meeting with them for the past few weeks on how they can be able to resolve these technical issues that they are encountering. And we can report that for the past few days, there has been a significant improvement as well in terms of their on-time performance, as well as minimizing any canceled flights.
Briefly lang, can you tell us what can we expect? There's also a planned privatization of the airport operations.
For MIA, of course, whether privatization will happen next year or a bit down the road, we will continue with all our efforts to improve the airports. Of course, our job will not stop, whether there's privatization happening or not. Of course, we are mandated. We're actually spending, we're investing on the airport as much as 5 billion pesos being invested so that we can have a more reliable and efficient system that includes our power system, air conditioning, passenger automation, airport management system. So all of these things are in place so that we can make sure that the airport is future ready, because as I mentioned, we are at 40, we will be ending at 43 million this year, and by next year we will be at the pre-pandemic level of around 47 million passengers for Manila. So we have to be prepared for that.
Thank you very much to MIA Officer in Charge Brian Cole. We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or at a family reunion or in Viber groups. It risks warfare, digital or otherwise. But we can talk about it here at this table on this show, your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Ruth Cabal. See you back here next Wednesday, 8 p.m.